In the pre-GPT era, what used to happen was, as an individual, we would basically talk to all these different tools separately. So if it's a designer, work on Notion and Sigma and some communication on Slack, there are always WhatsApp groups. So this is how we would communicate earlier. Then in post GPT era, basically what happened was GPT came in, and what we have now started doing is we have started talking to GPT a lot, getting a lot of feedback. So mostly brainstorming with GPT, but again, going to these tools to feed in information, again, coming back, going to GPT. And that is how it's happening right now. Meaning the last 1 year, that is how we have operated. Right? What MCP is doing now is it is enabling me as an individual to talk to my GPT or my LLM. MCP is exposing an interface, which is a unified interface to talk to any channel. Right? What is happening is the way I interact with all these tools, it's actually going via one unified layer now. And that unified layer is being operated via my NLM, which is my whatever NLM I want to choose. It can be ChatGPT, it can be Claude Desktop, it can be any future NLM which supports MCP. Yeah,
and this
that,
yeah. One thing I wanted to actually add on and also verify.
Yeah.
It's not only, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not only you chatting or rather talking to all these tools through your LLM and then MCP, but potentially them also talking to each other, right? It's a both pull and push. Yeah.
If this tool was able to send you info earlier via their own interfaces, then it will be able to send info to the LLM also. Because the only thing which has changed, and from a very simplified version, is the UI of it has changed. So the UI of Sigma has changed. The UI has become ChatGPT's chat interface. Everything else remains the same from a functionality perspective. So if Slack can send a message, receive a message, send an audio, receive a video, if Slack can do that on the Slack interface, then potentially ChatGPT can do that for us inside Slack, right? So whatever these tools can do, it's another interface. So these tools had mobile apps, these tools had websites, these tools had desktop apps. Now all of these tools will have MCP servers as well in the future.
Yeah.
Right. And when I say all of these tools, I genuinely mean all will have, because that is the direction. Nobody wants to create a tool now which cannot talk to an LLM, because that's where the world has already moved. Yeah.
And just to like maybe add on, right? So there are two things. Search is very bad. Summarization is very bad. I can't, like, for example, in WhatsApp. So the old way of doing it was download chats from all groups, to chat, make a summarization, and then basically like take it into a V0 or Lovable or whatever to create the newsletter. Now that can potentially just be with like one prompt, right? I can just say, hey, like summarize chats in this community and create like a sort of newsletter and send it to V0 and basically get the, right? Like, I think that first diagram was quite telling, because we were the people who were doing everything in between, like going back and forth. Now I think like that whole layer basically gets removed.
So if you think about it, right, even the LLM will do the same things, which you mentioned, right? It will go to every group, download the entire chat, copy paste everything. But because it can do it on its own, we don't have to do 10 prompts.
Exactly.
We don't have to manually waste our time, right? And that is the beauty of it. We were all handling it irrespective. So for example, when MCP was not there, if I remove it from here, let's keep it in the somewhat future. People were actually trying to have interfaces created between, say, a Slack and a GPT. There were enough tools which were doing that, but they were all writing code manually to do it. So meaning they were writing APIs and glue code for ChatGPT to interact with Slack. It was possible. But what MCP did was it just created a unified layer, right? It just created a layer in which this guy now understands this protocol really well. So anyone who publishes it, this guy can understand, which means now it's the onus of the provider, of the SaaS player, of the tool provider of any website to expose it like that. Right? That is how personally I feel about it. That if everything is one interface, then I'm very focused on doing one thing, and ChatGPT can figure out, or Claude can figure out anything, right? So one of the other things I tried, for example, was I integrated Perplexity MCP inside Claude. So, which basically means I like Perplexity's research and search APIs, but I like Sonnet, which is Claude's model's way of expressing things. So now this is like the best combination for me. I just say, ask Perplexity to get the latest information, and Sonnet will basically write it in the way I want it to write.